Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Friday, the 4th of March, 2022. We've got a lot to discuss on the final day of this week. And we'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with, of course, Pakistan's efforts for climate change. We know about the 10 billion tree tsunami. We know about the Clean and Green Pakistan program. We know about the different initiatives, the green bonds, and so many other initiatives that the current Pakistani government has taken in order to alleviate the effects of climate change. Now, Pakistan has gotten a seat at the United Nations Environment Assembly. Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Climate Change, Malik Amin Aslam, has been elected as the Vice President of this UN Environment Assembly Bureau, and he is going to represent Pakistan in this global bureau. It's a very important post and it's a very important position, and it highlights also Pakistan's initiatives as far as alleviating the effects of climate change are concerned. What are these effects? What is the report by the IPCC? We are going to discuss that and more in our first story. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, pertains to the water and Pakistan and India, who have reiterated to implement the Indus Water Treaty agreement. There are certain questions that Pakistan has raised with India that India needs to comply with as far as this a very important treaty is concerned. Water is extremely important to our region, and it is extremely important to both Pakistan and India. How is that going to board forward? This is going to be our second story. Then we'll be talking about Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah's portrait that has been made by a Turkish painter, Kaya Mar, and this was of course unveiled at London's iconic National Liberal Club, befitting tribute to our Quaid, and you can see the image in the parallel window as well. And of course it also shows the popularity that our Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah has not only in Pakistan but across the world. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about the Pakistan Navy anti-submarine warfare unit that foiled an Indian submarine's attempt to enter Pakistani waters. This is not the first time. In fact, this is the third attempt by India to enter Pakistani waters. We'll be discussing that. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about an incident that normally more or less happens a lot in Indian media. But this time, this has really been highlighted when India's television host and editor Rahul Shivshankar, a commentator, made a blunder, of course, by mixing the guests. And of course, he put on his host of aggressive attitude and questions and statements toward the wrong host, and only realized by the end of it all that he was talking to the wrong person. Well, this is not the first time, and I don't think this is going to be the last either. Let's begin with our first story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Pakistan's efforts for climate change, whether it be the 10 billion tree tsunami, whether it be the Clean and Green Pakistan, whether it be the green bonds. And now, of course, Pakistan has earned a place in the United Nations Agency for Environment as well. More in the following report.
For the first time, Pakistan has been elected to lead the global efforts towards goals of making the world climate resilient and environmentally sustainable place through global climate action. United Nations Environment Assembly Bureau elected Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Climate Change, Malik Amin Aslam, its Vice President, to represent Pakistan at the Global Forum. Pakistan has been elected as one of the 8-member Global Environmental Cabinet out of 193 countries. Prime Minister's aide Malik Amin Aslam marked it a tremendous achievement and honour for the entire country. Earlier, Pakistan took the lead in adopting the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, becoming one of the first countries in the world to take up their pledge to transform lives and protect the planet. According to UNDP, with technical support from the UNDP, Pakistan has achieved SDG 13 well before the 2030 deadline. Due to its commitment, Pakistan successfully hosted the World Environment Day in creating national and regional awareness regarding environmental issues. In line with Premier Imran Khan's Billion Tree Tsunami and Clean Green Pakistan programs, Pakistan has assured full commitment towards worldwide efforts to tackle climate change. Change is happening in Pakistan as the United Nations Environment Programme UNEP once again termed Prime Minister Imran Khan's 10 billion tree tsunami plantation vision as Global Leader Initiative. Pakistan has made considerable progress by mainstreaming sustainable development goals in national policies and strategies and developing an institutional framework for its implementation. For the first time,
now to talk about these institutional frameworks that Pakistan has implemented, and of course congratulations to Pakistan to have earned a very important seat at this agency. We've been joined by Munir Ahmed Saab, who's a climate advocacy expert. Munir Saab, thank you very much, and it's wonderful to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's wonderful to talk about
climate
change once again and the achievements of Pakistan globally.
Well, Munir Saab, first of all, congratulations to Pakistan. I think we
Yeah.
need to congratulate each other as well, because Pakistan has earned a very important seat as far as the Environment Agency under the United Nations is concerned. Is that also a recognition of the efforts that Pakistan has been making to alleviate the effects of climate change?
Certainly, yes. And the election, Malik Aslam won the election, of among 193 countries, only 8 were elected for the advisory committee. And I think it's a big achievement, and this is the recognition of Pakistan's efforts. And perhaps you remember the 2020 SDR report, Sustainable Development Report, that is compiled by an independent researcher think tank. And they declared Pakistan achieving SDG 13 climate action targets 10 years ahead. So that was a wonderful achievement already that we had done in 3 years. And now it's a wonderful, remarkable achievement of Pakistan that Pakistan's efforts are globally recognized. And before that, if we remember that Saudi and UAE have also asked Pakistan for technical support to run their climate action. And that is again a wonderful achievement of Pakistan, that Pakistan will be providing technical support to them. And yesterday we also saw Pakistan signing MOU with Uzbekistan for supporting their climate action. So it means we are rocking all around the
and we
world.
are going in the right direction, and
Yeah.
all our efforts are being recognized not only by the United Nations but all the
Yeah.
other important countries as well, and you've mentioned just some of them.
Yeah.
Now, Malik Amin Aslam Sahab, as the Vice President of this important body, what could his roles be, whether it be to highlight Pakistan's efforts, but at the global level, how can Pakistan put an effort, how can Pakistan achieve the sustainable development goals as far as climate change is concerned, and also do the needful as far as alleviating the effects of climate change?
In fact, the committee would recommend, will make recommendations and the vulnerability charts and act accordingly, as the IPCC has already declared certain regions are vulnerable to disasters and water scarcity and food security. I think the UN a global agenda, I think we will be able to get more pie from the funds and definitely the technical support as well, and that would help Pakistan to get our vulnerability, to decrease our vulnerability.
Of course, that is true. Malik Amin Aslam Saab, the Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on climate change, has joined us online. Sir, first of all, congratulations on getting the post of the Vice President of this very important forum. Secondly, sir, how important is now Pakistan's position as far as this UN body is concerned?
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Ji, thank you very much. I think this UN body is is the most important body for the environment, because it is formulated by the UN Environment Assembly, which includes all the environment ministers of the world. So 193 environment ministers actually choose this 8-man ministerial body, which is called the Bureau of the United Nations Environmental Program. It's also important because it guides and formulates the global policies on environment. And just last week we had a very important resolution passed in the Assembly, which has now mandated the body to look at coming up with a legislation on plastic pollution, to end plastic pollution in the world, and a 2-year time frame has been given for that. So I think it's very important to be allowed the opportunity to serve on this August body. It has, as I said, a lot of mandate because it's an elected body, elected by the ministers of environment of all the world, and it has big challenges to face. The global challenges of climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss, and plastic pollution that we're working on. So to get Pakistan to be a part of this body as a vice president is certainly an honor, but also a big responsibility as far as the future is concerned.
Malik, Amin, Aslam Saab, now looking at the responsibilities, Pakistan has hosted the World Environment Day on the 5th of June last year. Then, of course, now that you have this very important post of Vice President of this forum, and Pakistan has constantly been advocating the climate change and the adverse effects that climate change can have on different countries across the world, of which Pakistan is on the top 10. When you look at all the initiatives that the current government has taken, whether it be the Clean and Green Pakistan, whether it be the green bonds, whether it be the 10 billion tree tsunami, and so many other initiatives, how successful do you feel has the current government been in taking Pakistan out of a very negative impact of the climate change situation?
Well, if you look at the last 3.5 years, we can clearly see that Imran Khan, our Prime Minister's vision for the environment has achieved global recognition, and it's got global recognition not only because it's a vision which is clear, but also because it's not just on paper. It is backed by concrete action on the ground, and also because this action on the ground has been self-financed. So for a developing country to do this sort of thing is, almost unknown at the global level. So that's why Pakistan has been able to, create a very strong niche in terms of, becoming a leader not only on forestry and afforestation because of the 10 billion tree tsunami and the community-led forest protection model that we've developed in this huge initiative, but also because it is putting its own money on the table. It's putting its own budgetary financing to back up the initiatives. That is something which is unique. And now, what is happening is that there are a lot of partners who want to be a part of this successful initiative. So we have Germany, who has already invested 20 million euros into this initiative, and we have multilateral banks like the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank who want to be, partners in this green movement, and they are coming up with innovative instruments through which we can get a lot of concessions, sometimes grant financing, which will help the process. So it's been a model which has got global recognition, and it's now triggering a financial support mechanism for the whole country. And I think that's a unique thing in the world.
All right, and finally, Malik, Amin, Aslam Saab, in all of these good initiatives that the current government has put forward in order to put Pakistan out of the current crisis that the world is engulfed in as far as climate change is concerned, there comes the report by the International Panel for Climate Change that talks about climate change impacts, adaptation, and vulnerability. It talks about food production, water, and coastal cities. And of course, Pakistan is affected by all three. What are the challenges that lie ahead for a country like Pakistan as far as climate change is concerned?
Well, climate change is here to stay in Pakistan. It's something that is not only in strategy papers or books in Pakistan. We face the reality of climate change every day across the country. So whether it be our melting glaciers or the freak weather patterns which are happening all over, droughts in part of the country, heat waves, or in the south, sea level rise, all of that is happening in Pakistan. And it's not going to go away. What we are doing in Pakistan with our nature-based, focus, that is really one of the solutions to coping with climate change, to trust and invest in nature. And that has been something in which Pakistan has been seen in the leadership role. So all our initiatives, which includes afforestation through the 10 billion tree tsunami, which includes expanding our protected areas through the Prime Minister's Protected Area Initiative. All of these are focused on using nature as a solution to the problem and making sure that Pakistan does not add to this global problem, but becomes a part of the global solution and utilizing nature to do that. So that's something which is, actually paving new boundaries, not only in Pakistan but also all over the world. And it's not a luxury for Pakistan. As you rightly said, we have been on the top 10 list, and we will probably be on the top 10 list in the coming future also, because this problem is not going to go away. So all of these things are required as a necessity in Pakistan. And we are lucky that, this government and especially the Prime Minister had the vision to see through this problem and put it on the high priority agenda, which we have done. Give it the budget, give it a clear vision, and back it up with, a forceful implementation. And that is something which, as I said, not only Pakistan needs, but also the world needs.
Thank you very much, Malik Amin Aslam Saab, Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Climate Change, and congratulations once again on having now taken a very prestigious post at this agency that is going to tackle climate change and is going to give its recommendations to the UNEA as well. Coming back to you, Munir Saab, we've just heard Malik Amin Aslam Saab, and of course we all are very happy and proud that he now represents Pakistan at this very important forum. When we look at the IPCC report, of course you mentioned that, and Malik Amin Aslam Saab also mentioned that, and you look at food production and water and coastal areas, these are the three important aspects of this report, and it highlights the issues that are going to pertain to these three important segments. How can a country like Pakistan deal with it, and how do you feel it has been dealing with it in the last couple of years?
In the present government, we have seen government coming up with a climate smart agriculture framework, and that is very important. And Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations is also supporting that. And some other agencies are also supporting Pakistani farmers to come up with more yields of the crop in the season. And secondly, the scientific research has, guided us to sowing the different crops about the seasons as well, because after the climate change, season is shifting to a little bit, and we also facing a lot of rains and very dry spells.
Of course.
And such kind of research would definitely help us to grow more grain for because we are about 240 million country, and definitely we need a lot of crop and. During dry spell and because of more rains and very less time, that also disturb the crop production, and we have lost a lot of crops, and it would definitely help in. And secondly, water scarcity, that is a very rising issue for Pakistan as well, and very much matter of concern, because we are in top 5 water scarce country, and the scientists say that very soon we have much less water than what we have, and we will be, if that happens, and definitely we have to have more water storage capacity in our country. And the policy of the government that has encouraged rather more small dams and check dams and such kind of, and moreover, as Malik Amin Aslam Saab also mentioned about protected areas and national parks. And they have increased national parks and protected areas to 23. And the previous one were also upgraded. And now government is going to launch a National Parks Authority to make these parks more sustainable. And recently we have seen that on the one side, the concerned government officials, advocating for the national parks, and some other, people in the same government was advocating for, a different type of agenda. So I think the government needs to have one single voice and one single vision, as Prime Minister Imran Khan's has, and we have, and the government is pursuing it. And definitely the other, officials in the government and the ministers should follow and toe that agenda and make their initiatives more sustainable and environment friendly, so that all, players in the government should be on the same page. Then we will be able to have to address the water scarcity. And as you just mentioned about the Indus Water Treaty as well, and you will be talking about it. I'm not expert on it, but I believe we have several conflicts with the neighboring country, and we need to address it. And because China and India in the region have developed more small and large dams, and they have in thousands, and we have just maybe around 100, and that is not sufficient. And the third one is vulnerability to disasters as well, and we have to have very stringent measures in it as well.
All right. All right. And finally, a very short answer to my last question to you, sir, is this IPCC report, it suggests a climate resilient development framework. In this framework, it talks about greenhouse gas emissions, conserving biodiversity in energy, industry, health, water, food, urban development, housing, transport policies, and practice. A lot of things jumbled together. How easy or not is it for different countries of the world, including Pakistan, to adapt or adhere to this framework?
This framework is definitely a very logical. We accept it or not accept it. We have to do it if we have to survive. If I'm poor and I cannot get along with all the circumstances that I'm facing, definitely I'm going to lose. And by any means, we have to comply with all such kind of things. This is very ambitious agenda. Scientists or intergovernmental report that IPCC, they come up with all the possible remedies that we need. And they don't give us the solutions, but the solutions shall come up from the international agencies and the governments. And for the last 1 decade, we are pursuing community-based resilience, that we are trying to empower communities and developing infrastructure, and to just facilitate them to face and combat the changes of climate change.
And of course, these effects of climate change are not only related to Pakistan, because of course Pakistan is one of the most vulnerable countries, but to the world at large. And as per what the IPCC highlights, and as per all the developments that a country like Pakistan has been making, the world needs to follow suit. And as you said, everybody needs to be on one single page as far as combating this climate change is concerned. Only then can we really come up winners. Thank you very much, Munir Ahmed Saab, climate advocacy expert, who have joined us in the studios to talk about this very important, not only report, but also congratulate Pakistan on achieving this position of the Vice President at this very important forum that is going to talk and tackle climate change. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, and our second story pertains to the Indus Water Treaty. India and Pakistan have had numerous talks in this latest spate of issues pertaining to the Indus Water Treaty. What are the issues that plague Pakistan? Can India comply with all that Pakistan is asking? Can the region survive this Indus Water Treaty and the different changes that India is making? More in the following report.
Against Pakistan is an open secret, and incidents of many unresolved outstanding issues tend to augment chances of war between two nuclear-armed South Asian neighbours. Indian propensity to use water as a weapon of war poses existential threat to Pakistan, and thus Islamabad has been reiterating that revocation of the Indus Water Treaty by India can be taken as an act of war. Seeing the possibility of water war in the future exacerbated by climate woes, entire gamut of water-related grievances between Pakistan and India were discussed in the 117th meeting of Permanent Indus Commission. It's cogent to mention here that on the 19th of September 1960, the Indus Waters Treaty was signed between India and Pakistan with the help of the World Bank to share waters from the Indus River system. Under the relevant provisions of the Indus Waters Treaty 1960, the meeting takes place alternatively in Pakistan and India every year. Islamabad conveyed its objections over controversial Indian projects and also asked the visiting delegation about any flood flow information in advance as per the provisions of the Indus Waters Water Treaty. As 3 rounds of water talks between Islamabad and New Delhi conclude, the silver lining is that both sides reiterated their commitment to implement the Indus Water Treaty in its true spirit.
Now, to talk about the 117th meeting of the Commission and the results of those meetings and how the Indus Water Treaty is moving forward, we've been joined by Nasrullah Mirza Saab. He is the head of department of the DSS at the Quaid University. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Sir, Indus Water Treaty. Former head of department, of course. Sir, when you look at the Indus Water Treaty, and since 1960, this treaty has been signed between both India and Pakistan, but there hasn't been any real positive breakthrough as far as this treaty is concerned. What are the major impediments in your point of view?
Actually, major impediment is Kashmir issue.
Okay.
Because that has been divided between 2 states, India and Pakistan. The catchment area of whole Indus River system, which is 6 rivers, that lies in that area which is held. Till the time that issue of Kashmir is not settled, this issue will remain. But of course, that issue was at that time too, in 1960. Because this is the day-to-day requirement, and it is a real political issue. Not only real political issue, rather lifeline.
Of course, water is a lifeline of every society or nation, and we need to have a proper mechanism in order to treat that.
That was what actually both the states at that time, they were actually encouraged to come up, because there was a hurting stalemate between both. Because both, before this issue has raised, was gone to World Bank for the projects.
Of course.
And World Bank, when it looked into, there is a dispute. Then there was a condition from the World Bank that until unless this issue is resolved, we are not going to invest, because of the disputed territory and disputed issue. And that actually encouraged and compelled India too also to come to negotiation table. Then of course, international community and lot many other, and World Bank as a guarantor and as a mediator came as a offered us good offices. And after long negotiations of 12 years, this Indus Water Treaty was agreed.
All right.
So that agreed in the sense that it was, the whole system was partitioned. The 3 eastern rivers were given to India and 3 western to Pakistan. But there was some uses which was allowed to India, because the Al Kashmir development was required, and that actually is creating problem till now.
But you know, even apart from the issue of Kashmir, the fact remains that India is constructing new projects as far as dams are concerned, as far as water reservoirs are concerned, and that is causing an issue for Pakistan. Now, let's talk about the 2 water projects that Pakistan has raised with India in this 117th meeting of the India-Pakistan Permanent Indus Commission, and this was Pakaldul and Lower Kalnai. Now, these 2 are at this moment very important for Pakistan, for India to resolve. Whether these 3 rounds of talks between the 2 countries have been successful or not, what needs to be seen is how India reacts to these 2 important issues. What do you feel is going to happen?
Actually, when we talk about these issues, we are talking about technicalities. Actual is the water should flow down completely. Hardly 7% is actually allowed to India from the western river. Remaining all should come. But when we are constructing dams and storage capacities, it hurts the flow of the river.
Of course, just the Pakaldul is a hydropower project. I mean, and projects like this when you initiated.
There are many. Bagliar, there was a Kishan Ganga, and Salal, we agreed to it in late in 70s. In Salal, we have given all types of really concessions to India regarding Chenab River. But on Chenab River, India have about 17 projects. 4 has been almost completed. There is the 5th one which we are discussing at this moment.
True.
That this is coming up issue. And other are also in the pipeline, and now we don't know, since 19, when there was a total blackout has been imposed on Al Kashmir after 5th August 19, what is happening there?
There are a lot of things that haven't been made clear.
Yes. We have no access to those information. What information India will provide, that is what, but that remain again technical. Issue is not only technical, can be dealt with the Indus commissioners It is political, it is real politic, it is issue with the territory, with the Kashmir, which is the catchment area of all rivers, because the whole, this is imperative of development too, because development is only possible in that area, because the gradient of flow of land is almost 30 feet per kilometer, and when it reach to rim station, Marala, Tabela and all that, onward till Indus, it fall into Indian Ocean. Hardly there is a 9 inch per kilometer is the gradient. So water can be developed only in that area, and that is what is held Kashmir and the Kashmir area.
India has been causing issues as far as this commission is concerned, as also and also the distribution of proper distribution, equitable distribution of what is concerned. One of the issues that we have is also the Khetro hydropower project on the Chenab River that has been made by India, and Pakistan has huge concerns on that. Pakistan has also talked about its observations in this very meeting as well. Do you feel India is going to concede to some extent? Do you feel India needs to be pressurized on that? What needs to be done in order for India to understand that Pakistan needs to have its own share of the water?
That is very important really, because if India should have realized the earlier issue have not right. India has not realizing itself the Pakistan's not only requirement, rather the legal requirement and legal right on those rivers. It is not a question of equitable distribution, all that. That has been done in 1960 treaty. No, treaty has to be
implemented in proper letter and spirit. That is the more major issue.
That is the major issue. When this area is actually occupied by an aggressor, whatever they are doing there, you have no control on it. Only treaty has evolved. So that should be implemented, but that has been not implemented even earlier. It has been violated many times.
But Nasrullah Sahab, this design by India to stop the flow of water into, for example, if we just talk about the Khetro hydropower project into the Chenab River, this is just one of these, and there are so many others that are being put into place or have been put into place by India. With this constant design, countries go to war over water. And this is a major issue.
It is a question of life and death, because the Chenab River itself at this moment is actually supplying the all shortfall to the all eastern 3 rivers. We are diverting water from Chenab to Ravi to Satluj, and all that area is being irrigated because of that. If there is a control on Chenab River, it hurts Pakistan most. And that is hurting, because they have more than 70.
Where can we put the water? In the water reservoirs?
They have the capacity to really store water flow of not only Chenab but all rivers, and Chenab specifically for 40 days, continuously 40 days at this moment, whatever the capacity they have. And that is actually a huge potential for really threatening all types of agriculture and land and lifeline.
Of course, and Pakistan being an agricultural country, we need the water, and we need that flow of water to come from India, as has been decided in this Indus Water Treaty that India is not really adhering to, is it?
It is not adhering totally, because on Chenab River there is a limitations. If India can store only 0.6 million acre feet as a power generation, but that is not only Chenab main, that is on tributary of Chenab, Chundra and Bhaga, but there is nothing they have doing. If they have been doing, they are not explored to us. They may be doing that, but on Chenab main, they cannot construct this type of dam. And whatever they have constructed already, Salal Dam was also violation, but we accepted that in 70s and a good gesture and all that, because there was a, after signing of Simla agreement, there was a bilateral and all that. We conceded to that and we are given the concession. But after that, whatever India has done in terms of dam building, that all violates treaty. But Pakistan has gone to neutral expert, and gone to International Court of Justice, because treaty was signed in 1960s. At that time, international law was not really developed in that sense as it is now, because that has been further implemented and further discussed and further has been agreed word over. Now there was United Nations Water Courses Agreement, and that was signed in 1917. India and Pakistan has not signatory to it because they are already dispute on that. And that actually say about the most vulnerable aspect which is required to be is a joint really type of arrangement, one. Second, it should be beneficial to both.
That is very important.
Third, it should be environmental friendly, it could be sustainable. And the climate assessment, impact assessment has to be incorporated into it. But there is nothing in that treaty really. But treaty we have signed has no precedent in the world.
There are two other things that I want to ask you. The first becomes the new run-of-the-mill small hydropower projects that India is constructing on the western rivers, and Pakistan has raised its objections and its observations on that as well. The second is the provision of data on the flow of eastern rivers, Ravi, Sutlej, Bias, as per the 1989 data sharing agreement and arrangement that had been made, which India has constantly been rejecting.
Yes.
How can Pakistan move now forward as far as these two very important concerns?
India is rejecting because India is trying to use that water whenever is excess is flow, open flow into the river, and it causes floods and all that. That happened many a time. Not only that, even the water is polluted which is being coming to Pakistan at that time. Most of the time Pakistan has raised that issue that data should be shared in time, but that India is not doing that. It is again violation of the treaty. And data should be shared before 6 months of any type of development project India plan. But never happened this one. We really tried to investigate into, and if we access from any other sources, third party sources and all that, something published in terms of tender notice and all that, any other party is involved into that, then we find out that there is a problem. India is trying to build up dam, and then we have raised that issue. So India is not providing data as per the treaty, which is the first really requirement
and primordial
and
requirement.
legal really condition on India, that India should provide that. And India is not providing neither regarding to eastern river flow of the east river, nor regarding to the any development project they are replanning on the western rivers, which is against.
And that is
totally
that is going to
illegal
create a huge issue, and that is creating a huge issue between Pakistan and India, especially when it comes to water. And water, as we have already discussed, is something of primordial and paramount importance to any country, whether it be Pakistan or any other country across the world. Thank you very much, Muhammad Nasrullah. Mirza Sahab, we're a bit out of time, or else we would have discussed a bit more as far as this is concerned, to have joined us and to have talked to us about this very important Indus Water Treaty and this 117th meeting of the Commission that was held in Pakistan, and of course it is alternatively held in Islamabad, in Pakistan and in India. So let's hope that the observations that Pakistan has given, sir, will kind of reap some kind of a benefit of positive impact on the future of this Commission as well as this treaty. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us.
Thank you very much.
Let's come to our last three stories, ladies and gentlemen, very, very quickly. The first, of course, concerns a portrait of our Quaid, our founder, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, that has been made by Turkish artist Kaya Omar, and it was unveiled today at London's iconic National Liberal Club. And of course, it is a befitting tribute to our Quaid, the founder of our country, Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And of course, it's also shows not only that our Quaid is popular in Pakistan and in the region, but he's also an extremely popular leader across the world. Just an example through this portrait. Then now the next two stories, ladies and gentlemen, concern India. The first is the Pakistan Navy anti-submarine warfare unit, who has foiled an Indian submarine's attempt to enter Pakistani waters. That has been stated by the ISPR yesterday. Also, the interception and tracking of the latest Kalvari class Indian submarine took place on the 1st of March. The military's media wing has stated this in a statement. This is not the first time that it has happened. This is the third such attempt by India. And Pakistan, of course, diligently not only informs but also thwarts any such attempt by India. And we are seeing different attempts by India under the current circumstances, whether it be through hybrid warfare, whether it be through destabilizing Pakistan directly and indirectly in Balochistan and in Fatah, and also through such attempts as we have just talked about. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's end today's show on a slightly sarcastic note as far as journalism is concerned. When it comes to India, we see a lot of journalism, how should I say, constructive? No, rather destructive journalism emanating from Republic Television, from other channels. What happens now when the editor-in-chief of the Indian news channel Times Now, Rahul Shivshankar, talks to two different analysts and mistakes one for the other? Let's watch the video.
Daniel McAdams, just take a bit of a chill pill. I didn't even address the question to you. Relax. Calm down.
I don't want to relax.
No,
My country is at war.
Well, Mr. McAdams, if you are so concerned, about Ukrainians, then hang on. Mr. McAdams, if you're so concerned about, if you're so concerned about Ukraine, get off the fence and send your forces and put boots on the ground. Don't lecture us here in India, okay? I'm not going to hear your lecture. And if you have really problems, go tell go tell the US President, Mr. Biden, who flashes, who flashes his fancy credentials. Don't, Mr. McAdams, tonight. Don't, Mr. McAdams, tonight play the catch for the West here. Do not do that. We have hang on. You ask those Afghans. What they have gone through falling off planes because you dumped them. You ask the African nations because you dumped them. You go ask millions and millions of Iraqi citizens because you dumped them. You people and your colonial agenda, sir, has wrecked the South, has wrecked the East, and don't sit here and lecture us. Don't sit here and lecture us, Mr. McAdams. We shut him down.
I'm not talking. It's the other guy who's talking. I haven't been able to say a word.
Yeah, absolutely. The man has gone completely ballistic. And if he feels so strongly, he should go and fight alongside Ukrainians who are being killed.
Dear host, I have not said a word yet. I don't know why you're yelling at me.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm talking about Mr. McAdams. I am Mr. McAdams. Oh.
I am Mr. McAdams, and I haven't said a word, so stop yelling at me.
Okay, sorry. I got that confused.
The Ukrainian guy who's going nuts, okay? Not me.
Yes, I got that. That's Borden Nahalo.
Now, this reminds us a lot of what happened with Arnab Goswami last year when he talked about the 5th floor and how our intelligence agencies were staying on the 5th floor of a hotel where the 5th floor even does not exist in Afghanistan. That and so much more has emanated from the Indian media, and we don't know how to react to it but be sarcastic about it. And I'll quote the Brussels bureau chief of The Economist, who wrote on Twitter, "This is magnificent. It makes no sense until it makes perfect sense. Nobody outside Indian television can produce this level of chaos." I end it on that. Have a great weekend. We'll see you inshallah on Monday. Allah Hafiz.